Uganda, East Africa on this 17th day. It's a Friday, 17th day of April 2026. And this evening, we are blessed to have my sister, teacher Anna, whichever way she wants us to call her, online this evening. And she's going to be talking to and with us on upscaling education. Anna is an excellent teacher. She is, and she angles her teaching with communication. I want to catch on one of the things she said today is online. She said communication is a life skill. And now if it's a life skill, it's needed in all angles. And this is where she's going to anchor in. Her strength is in teaching, yes. Her strength is in communication. And she's online. Hey, Anna, welcome.
Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for having me.
Hi, how are you doing? How are you keeping?
I'm doing well. Please give me a few seconds, please.
Okay. Okay, it should be back. But we've started. We are talking education, we are talking communication, we are talking mental health issues, and off the line that says communication is a skill, that's where teacher Anna is going to start. But she needed a few minutes.
Yes.
Are you okay now?
Yeah, I'm okay. Because I'm out, there's a bit of noise, so I wanted to make sure that that passed away before I started speaking. So I apologize. Sorry about that.
Noise is part of communication, isn't it?
It is. It is. Okay. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, welcome to Let It Count podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Who is Anna? Who is teacher Anna?
Okay, so teacher Anne she's a passionate educator who has been teaching for the past 10 years, 8 years back home in her home country, Ghana, and 2 years currently in Asia, specifically Indonesia, where she has been teaching English for the past 10 years. She actually has experience with communicating with both students, teachers, parents, management. Communication has been like the biggest upskilling of her career throughout the 10 years. And currently, she has her own consultancy called AVEC, where she's helping professionals also build that global communication skill so they can also upskill their career just like she has also upskilled her career. So yeah, that's a simple information about who Miss Anna is.
Thank you so much. So Anna, did you teach in Ghana before you moved to Indonesia?
Yes, I've been teaching in Ghana for 8 years before I moved here to Indonesia.
Super. And then in your introduction of yourself, you use the word upscaling, and that's where I want our conversation to start. Upscaling of skills, upscaling of education. It's a big transition coming from Africa to go to Indonesia. Do you want to talk to us about that?
Oh yes, I can definitely say something about it. One thing that I have always held dear is the thoughts that as human beings we can always learn. There's no end to how we can improve ourselves, the kind of skills that we can build, or the kind of level that we can get to. So originally, I started my teaching career as a teaching assistant, actually. So as a TA, I was assisting other teachers. So I started as a level entry into the education with no prior knowledge, nothing at all, and I had to build myself gradually from being an assistant all the way to becoming a full-time teacher. And then from there, I became a manager where I was managing other teachers, 6 other teachers. And from there, I moved up to global education. And then here I am internationally teaching. Now, through all that career and that step and that move up, the biggest thing has been how to communicate my skills and the value that I bring into my role and how I help other people. So communication has been the biggest part of my career and helping me scale up until where I am now. So that's why is very important to really have good communication skills to be able to support your career and scale it up to the goal that you've always wanted to have it to get to.
Super. And you are teaching English, and you speak English as the second language, isn't it?
Yes.
Exactly. And now, if you and I agree that communication is not the only line that one needs to upscale. There is that part that you're coming from Africa. So there is the self-esteem.
Yes.
That comes with bumping into different cultures. You don't have a Ghanaian accent at all. You lost it. So we need to call you back to Africa to have our accent again.
This is how I've always spoken. Actually, I actually don't have an accent. One thing I can confidently say is that my degree has been in English and linguistics. So I did take it quite seriously. I actually learned English whilst growing up. For anyone who knows about Ghana, the official language is English. So English is everywhere in our lives, from school, commercial, hospital, everywhere. So naturally, a huge percentage of Ghanaians already speak English. But if you add that professional and 4-year degree learning the fundamentals, semantics, the linguistics, the phonological aspects, the morphology, all the syntax and all those details in linguistics and English, that is how you come up with, like, I don't know how to say perfect, but near perfect pronunciations like I do. So that is how I was able to learn how to speak properly and communicate properly, because I had the opportunity to study the language in detail. And then now I have the chance to also teach other second language learners in Asia to also speak English the same way.
Okay, if I'm coming from Uganda and our official language is English, and I'm going to be teaching mathematics in Indonesia, what are some of the things that I must pick up? I must pick up on these things to excel in Indonesia.
The main thing that has to be, please give me hold on here. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
All right. You mentioned you're asking specific things that, like, there's somebody from Uganda who wants to teach math to prepare themselves for teaching in Indonesia. One thing I can say is that English is the main level of instruction, right? That is the language that is going to be used to teach. So if the students can actually understand you, then that's fine. You don't need to have perfect language to be able to teach mathematics. Exactly. So if the English is just enough for students to fully understand the sentences you're making, the words you're pronouncing, how you're using technical terms in math, then that's fine. There's nothing really special that you need to do. You just come as a self, and if you're understood and your work is really speaking for itself, then that's fine.
Okay, super. But Anna, I need to take you back to the transition from Africa away from home into a different land. I know you had the skills, I know you had the English, I know you had all that in terms of paperwork and all that. Talk to us about that transition in terms of mental health.
In terms of mental health?
Yeah, you talk to us about the transition from Ghana to Indonesia in terms of Anna and mental health.
I cannot quite get you to the. I cannot. I didn't really get you. There's a bit of a noise in the background.
Okay, I'm trying to walk back memory lane with you to the time you started out from Ghana to Indonesia. And I'm not talking in terms of certification, in terms of academia, not at all. I'm capturing you as a person coming from Africa, going to a different land and I want you to speak to us about your emotions. What were you going through? There's a bit of excitement, definitely. There is excitement, but there is the other part that we don't see and then don't get to hear about.
One thing I can say is that for every journey that anyone takes, there's always a bit of an emotional aspect that comes with it, right? I have been thinking of transitioning or going global and international for a while, and I had to mentally prepare myself for what it could come with. It could come with so many opportunities that I might enjoy, and might also come with opportunities that I might not really enjoy. You know, so for example, when I was applying for the jobs and I was getting rejections here and there, I wasn't getting any feedback from the schools. I wasn't getting any form of acknowledgement or anything like that. It was really stressful. It was mentally draining because you're putting in the effort and you're trying to get that goal that you want to get to, but you don't actually achieve what you want to have. Now, what I did during that time is that I told myself that every good thing that you need to get takes time. Now, if it takes time, it means that you need to take yourself out of the situation and just think about it objectively. So that is one of the things that really helped me. That I became more objective about the goals that I was focusing on, rather than being subjective. So then the emotional strain wasn't too much for me, and gradually I was able to keep at it, keep pushing on my goal, and eventually I was able to get the offer that I was looking for, and here I am now enjoying the fruit of all my hard work.
You say there that everything takes time. You factor in the patience element.
Yeah.
How patient can we be? How patient can we be if we are going to get if you're looking at something better than where we are now? And in terms of mental health, I think that's where the rubber meets the road, is that the space between going on and giving up is so limited. You need more than what you read. You need more than what you hear. You need more than what you believe in.
Yeah.
The space between giving up and going on.
Yeah. One thing I can say is that the space is actually very limited, right?
I'll do this next year. I'll do this next year. Next year. No. This is low, bro. Samuel. Oh, Coach Angelo, bro.
Okay, sorry, can you please hear me?
Welcome back.
Okay, sorry about that. All right. As I mentioned, that there's a very thin line between just pushing and also giving up. But one thing that you need to keep in mind is that you need to have a very strong level of intrinsic motivation. When you see the vision that you actually want to attain at the end of the day, it's something that you always have to keep moving on to get to, right? It's very easy to give up, but it's very difficult to keep going. So if you have that intrinsic motivation that, hey, this goal is something that can happen, this goal is something that I can actually achieve, then it becomes that thin line becomes nothing to you, because you can easily overcome and keep going without you having to give up. And one thing about goals is that you need to have them in a very smart way. They need to be smart. They have to be measurable. They need to have some time. They need to have some form of adjustment wherever you get to. If you don't get one specific goal that you want, you can just adjust it and then get something that is similar until you get to the final part of what you need to do. But intrinsic motivation is what keeps you going. If you don't have that, you will end up giving up very easily. So that's one thing that has really helped me a lot whilst I've been pushing so much for this specific goal that I've always wanted to attain and have.
This journey, would you encourage a teacher from I'm going to talk about Uganda, East Africa, Kampala.
Yes.
Would you encourage a young teacher, and I'm talking 25 to 35? I'm a teacher by profession,
Yeah.
but there comes a time where you're tired of traveling. You can't travel to Indonesia at 53 years of age to start teaching English and mathematics. And mathematics, hello, you can do it here. I would like you to speak to the young teacher in my country who is listening in, who will be listening in about this, Jenny.
Pardon, sorry, the last part, please.
Yeah, I would like you to speak to a young teacher in my country, or whoever will be listening in to this after we've recorded, about this journey from Africa to wherever. It could be Indonesia, it could be Nicaragua, it could be Baghdad, it could be anywhere in Qatar, wherever.
So the main aim is for me to encourage them to travel abroad and teach. Okay. For me personally, teaching has been something that growing up, I didn't see the positive side of. Both my parents were teachers, all right? And their life was not like the best in terms of so many things, financially, the status of the profession, so many things about the teaching profession back then did not really inspire a lot of young people to even want to pursue it. So when I got into teaching through my national service, I told myself that I wanted to take teaching as a tool and let that draw and paint the kind of life that I want for myself, which included traveling the world, exploring my mind as broad as I can get to, meeting new people, learning new cultures, and also learning new language. So I took teaching as a tool to get to that goal that I wanted to. So one thing I want to advise the young people or young teachers that you can actually love teaching as much as you want, but you should also see what you can get or what you can do beyond the four corners of the classroom. You can use teaching to go anywhere. Nobody actually tells us the fact that teaching as a profession is so valuable that it can actually take you places. So that is exactly what I have been able to do with my teaching career. So anyone who wants to do the same thing, it's definitely possible. Teaching as mediocre or as small as people see it could be such a huge opportunity that people with maybe big jobs or like office work and all the money in the world might not even have that opportunity that teaching can actually give. So they need to just focus on the goal, what exactly they want to get to, do the research on the qualification that I needed, because that is what I did. When I told myself that this is the goal I wanted to get to, I then figured out, hey, let me figure out how to get there, because it doesn't just happen overnight. So whilst I was working all those years, I was also training and going to school. I was getting my education degree. I was getting my TEFL to improve my English. I was getting my teacher license to show that I am actually a professional teacher. So all those things helped me to get to where I'm supposed to get to. So the advice straight to a young teacher is that have a goal. No, first, validate yourself and know that teaching can actually take you places. Two, have a goal that you want to attain. Three, whilst you're working towards that goal, gain all the qualifications that you need to get to. And then when you start working towards that goal, it can easily come to you without you having to mentally stress yourself. So it is actually tedious. It is tedious, but it's not something that cannot be done. It is 100% possible and feasible to get that goal. So that is the advice I'll give to a 25 or a young teacher who wants to think outside the classroom with the teaching career.
Okay, super. You have an agency. What do you do exactly with the agency?
My agency is called AVEC, and AVEC is simply my name. That is Avugla Educational Consults, AVEC. What I do is that I help professionals build confident communication skills that could help them into global opportunities. How they can actually sell their skills, show their values, and all of that. That is exactly what I do in this agency. If somebody has a challenge, they want to learn how to perform well in an interview, they want to know how to give like the best presentation. They want to be young leaders in their profession, but they are very shy. They don't want to get there. They are self-guessing themselves. They have confidence killers that keep messing them up, self-doubt. All of those things are things that I help them with to build so that they become confident communicators and scale up their careers from where they started up to the goal that they want to get to. That is the main vision of AVEC, my consultancy.
Super. And this is online only or even physically?
No, it's online only. It's online only at the moment.
Okay, you don't want people to travel from Uganda to Indonesia to attend to a physical class like that?
Because I'm in Indonesia, right? I'm an expat, which means that I do not have as enough rights as a local here will. So at the moment, I literally just started just 2 months ago. So it will have to take some time before I could have like a physical space. But right now it's online because it's very young. I just started.
I was actually joking on that because
I know.
how much do you need to travel all
To
the
travel
way?
all the way just to go to a communication
I
school. So
know.
yeah.
But you said communication caters for expression, communication caters for processing,
Yes.
and communication also caters for protection, the way we protect our mental health, mental wellness, communication.
Yeah.
Could you dive into this? How does communication cater for expression, processing, and protection of my mental health?
Okay. Mental health is something that's very important because the brain is the biggest part of us human beings. It is actually the part that helps us regulate our daily activities. And sometimes when our health is not regulated properly, every other aspect of our lives could actually be affected. Ourselves and even the relationship we have with other people. So communication is very important to be able to communicate our health because if you feel like you are not well or something is up with you, it could be emotionally, it could be psychologically. You need to be able to tell somebody about it. Hey, I am not okay. Okay, maybe I have lost this job. I need someone to talk to, or I am not getting this opportunity I want to. I need someone to speak to. If you don't communicate that and you keep that negative emotions inside you, at the end of the day, it could affect you mentally, and then that could be leading to depression or something even worse that becomes difficult for you to get out of. So communication is very, very
Yeah.
important. Very, very important. The moment you start feeling not yourself, you start feeling that motivation or zeal to do something is reducing or not there anymore, you need to start talking about it immediately before it gets too late and it gets too far where it cannot be saved or it cannot be easily reverted. So that is how important it is to communicate anything about mental health.
It is, and isn't that to be able to communicate health, I must be ready to be vulnerable. Is that true?
Pardon again?
To be able, if I was to be able to communicate well matters mental health, I must allow me to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Isn't that true?
Yes, definitely, 100%. You need to be vulnerable enough to communicate what exactly is wrong with you. And one thing about vulnerability is that human beings naturally do not want to be vulnerable because vulnerability comes with a sense of weakness, which means that you're putting your power in the hands of somebody else. And no one wants to be in that state where they feel like they have lost power and they cannot control their own actions or their own feelings anymore. However, as human beings, we cannot do everything by ourselves either. We need other human beings to survive. We need other human beings to thrive. So vulnerability still needs to come in for us to think that, hey, I feel this thing about myself, but I cannot keep it to myself. Let me be vulnerable enough. Let me be weak enough to let it out to somebody else who can help me, pull me out of that mental state, pull me out of that mental distress so I can become myself again. So vulnerability is very important when it comes to communicating your mental health and the help that you need to actually get back to your original self or get back to the person that you used to be before you started experiencing that shift in mental health.
Super. I was talking to a business coach, and she said that these days you and I can outsource conversation through AI. We can outsource conversations through AI. We can, you can get on your phone and you outsource this conversation. And the other AI part of it does not factor in vulnerability, because they're ready to, with AI, it's answer.
Yeah, true.
There's no,
No,
you lose that
that's not.
warmth.
Yeah, that's very true. That's really
Okay.
true. One thing I can say about AI,
Yeah.
AI has come and is so helpful in so many ways. So many ways. However, the biggest flaw of AI is the fact that it does not have any form of emotional intelligence. It doesn't have anything at all. It cannot have the
Mhm.
sense of discernment. It cannot have the sense of figuring out what is happening to human. It doesn't have a sense of
Mhm.
actually reading facial expressions, picking up on mannerisms to see if somebody is okay or not okay. That is one of the biggest flaws. So it becomes difficult to outsource that kind of information, because the only thing you're going to get back is technical responses, emotionless responses that has nothing to do with what you
Mhm.
actually need as an emotional
Yeah.
connection with somebody who is probably a human, that will actually be able to give you some form of emotional um, acceptance or emotional validation
Yeah.
to what you are
Yeah.
feeling back. AI
Yeah.
cannot give you
Yeah.
that validation. It cannot give you that acceptance. And that is where it comes to its biggest flaw. So outsourcing it would to give you the answers all right, but it will not fill that emotional void that you need for somebody who's listening to your problems.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm. And you have to agree that society is becoming smaller and smaller and
Yes.
smaller.
Yes.
So you want to think that even without the emotional detachment, AI might play a role for someone who has been
Yeah.
rejected by society. There is a role. But also the other thought is that every behavior communicates something. Every behavior communicates something. And I get back to you as a teacher. Teachers burn out, don't they?
Yes, we burn out.
Uh-huh. Talk to me about you and burnout.
Okay, so one thing about burnout is that it cannot be helped. It is definitely going to happen, especially in certain times of maybe the academic year or certain times of the term.
Yeah.
The workload just piles up so much. It's not like you're going to be burned out throughout, but it comes in its seasons.
Mhm.
And when it comes in that season and you're unable to overcome it, it gives you mental stress and it affects your mental health.
Mhm.
And at that moment, the first thing you
Mhm.
think about is just to quit. But if you're able to
Mhm.
manage it so well that during that season you either find different ways of outsourcing your task, or having a very good
Mm.
management system on what you do after what and then after what, and planning, scheduling, and putting everything that you're supposed to do in place, it will eventually reduce the load. And then finally, that burnout starts to reduce. It's not going to totally go off, but it will reduce from time to time
Mm.
until you're able to handle it in that moment and then go back to your normal self. So, burnout would definitely happen. However, the way you handle it and the way you think about it is what will help you overcome it quickly. If you attack it with a negative mindset, it will become bigger than it's supposed to look like. But if
That's
you attack it with a positive mindset, it will be easier for you to
mm.
overcome it. So everything is also about mindset. The moment you see that burnout like it's a big issue, it just gets bigger.
Mm.
But if you see it as something that could easily be overcome,
Mhm.
then it will gradually start shrinking when you put in the actions that you need to put in to get your self back on track with the kind of task that you're supposed to complete. So your burnout reduces, and then mental health goes back to being stable again.
Exactly. And Anna, we can't neglect the need for community, the people around
Yeah.
us. They don't have to be many. They don't have 20. They don't have
Yeah.
to be 30. They don't have to be. As a matter of fact, there could even be two people, the
Yes.
community around you
Yeah.
during the burnout process or the burnout time.
Yeah.
And in Indonesia, you have a community like that,
Yeah.
away from, okay, a community that helms the teacher. I'm not talking about a community that rubs your shoulder all the time. No, a community that helps the teacher, a community that understands that the teacher is going through this particular phase in their in time, and they need support.
Yes. Um, Community is one of the biggest things that could make a teacher feel safe and belong, because teaching can sometimes feel very isolating, especially when you have so much work to do and you need to put yourself, isolated yourself just to complete a lot of tasks. It can feel very isolating sometimes. The reason why I use the word isolating is that even if you are in a class full of students, you still feel lonely sometimes, because no one's attention is on you as a teacher, but your attention is on everybody else, which is all the students in the classroom. But who gives you the attention also that, hey, you have been overwhelmed the whole day today, you've handled 30 to 40 different personalities today, you've been able to complete all of these tasks today? Like, who sees that? So community is very important, that if the teacher leaves the space, that teaching space, or at the end of the day is able to, have like a group of people, like maybe colleagues to hang out with, or people that they can actually just talk to, maybe at home, or just to let out some form of frustration here and there about the job. It is one step closer to not overwhelming themselves, and one step closer to having a healthier mental health than a more difficult mental health where they're struggling by their own whilst they're filled with a lot of people. So you can still have a community, but you need to make sure that you are actually using the community for your benefits. That is taking me back to what I said. Vulnerability is important. You can still be lonely and have a lot of people beside you. If you're not vulnerable enough to open up, then the community is just there physically, but emotionally, there's no assistance to support you. So I do agree,
That's
community
true.
community is really important, very, very important and big. But you can still have community, and if you're not willing enough to be vulnerable to let the community help you, it's still not going to be beneficial to you in the long run, even though they're present. They are there.
That's true. And I attended one of your classes online, and you were talking to us about the shrinking voice, and you were asking questions like, why do you shrink your voice? What happens when your voice shrinks? I loved that lesson. It was 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but I
Yeah.
learned a lot. Learning doesn't stop. Learning doesn't stop. That's why I think it's, better. I think it's Aristotle who says we need foolishness in order to learn.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to the shrinking voice in terms of mental health.
Yeah.
Some people lose their voices, and it can be a very big indicator on what they're going through, even teachers.
Yeah. Shrinking language simply means that you are saying something, but you're trying to minimize the effect of it. For example,
Exactly.
you can say that you're a teacher and you're really tired, you are exhausted, and somebody asks you, how are you feeling? How was your day? It was busy. I'm just tired. Using the word just is trying to minimize the exhaustion that you're feeling. And that is what I call shrinking language. If you are extremely exhausted, you should come out and say, I am really exhausted. It's crazy. But if you say something like, it is just tiredness, or maybe I might be okay in a few hours when I take a nap, and you use words like just or maybe when it comes to how mentally strained you are, then you are shrinking your voice and you are shrinking the importance of your mental health. You need to let people know, if it is really that bad, you should communicate that, hey, it is getting worse. My burnout is getting too much. I actually need help. So using words that shrink it makes people feel like it's not that bad, and it eventually it should just eat you up inside and becomes too late for any form of mediation to support you get out of it quickly. Right. So shrinking language is something that could affect you in all aspects of your life. It could affect in your job, it could affect how you relate to other people, and it could affect how you communicate your mental health. If it is bad, say it's bad. Don't use the word just tired or just a headache or I'm just sleepy. Using those words shrinks the value and the intensity of how much you are really suffering and how much you need help to get out of the mental health issue. Yeah.
Super, super. And then, Anna, it's not only the voice. What about the body language that comes
Yeah.
with it?
Yeah. Body language
You
also says
know?
a lot. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to give you an example. A few days back,
Yeah.
my son was sick. My son was sick, and I had to take him to the hospital. And we ran test this, test that, and then out of all that, the doctor said, "Well, he has some malaria." Okay, and I called my mama. And I told her the story. But this is what she said. She said, "Oh, we all have a little bit of malaria." It was so hilarious. We all have a little bit of malaria, but I'm going to flip the coin to that. Do we all have a little bit of stress? Do we have a little bit of anxiety? Do we have a little bit of post-traumatic trauma disorder? Do we have a little bit of something, even when we are moving on a daily?
I'll say yes. Because life hits you in different ways that you cannot predict where anything is going to come from. So everybody at a point in time has a little bit of some form of stress, some form of burnout, and some form of discomfort. But the thing is, how do you communicate it? How do you try to solve it? You know, and one of the biggest thing is that the fact that all of us probably has a little bit of burnout and a little bit of stress
Yeah,
doesn't mean that when somebody tells you, you demean what they are feeling. For example, if I come to
yeah.
you and I tell you that, hey, I'm feeling stressed and I have a lot of burnout, and you talk to me and say, well, Anna, everybody has burnout. The moment you do that, you shut me out. You make me feel like how what I'm feeling doesn't matter. And that negative feeling that I want to get out there, everybody else is feeling the same thing. So, I'm not the only one. But it's very risky to make people feel like their feelings are not validated. If somebody comes to you and tells you that they're feeling stressed about something, the best thing is just to give a listening ear. Listen, give a suggestion or two, and then see how they can apply it and get better. But shutting them out and say, well, everybody has the same issue. Well, everybody gets headache at the end of the day, or everyone gets burnout at some point in time. That is going to make people feel like the mental health is not important. So we also need to be very careful how we respond to people when they open up and communicate about their mental health. It is the worst thing to shut it down when they open up, because in the next time they are not going to be vulnerable enough to even want to tell you, since they know that it's not going to be validated and it's not going to be accepted in any way. So why do I try communicating that I am stressed? Why do I try communicating that I have burnout when everybody else has the same thing? So the mind doesn't matter. And holding that thing in can actually scale up to become something even far worse than it could be if it is acknowledged and diagnosed in the beginning and help is given enough for that person's mental health to be stable again.
And I totally agree with you. In this case, it depends on who is saying it. Like my mama said that, and I took no offense at all
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
it's family.
Yes, it's
It
family.
depends on who is saying it. But imagine if I got that from a stranger, just like you said.
Yeah.
Imagine I opened up to a stranger and they said that. I would be like, wait a minute, what are you not talking about?
Yeah.
You get it? But yet when it comes from family, when it comes from somebody that you share so many things with, it's a joy to hear it. Actually, I went home and I even laughed about it. I was like, yeah, everyone, we are talking mosquitoes when I was in
Mhm.
Kampala. Wait, okay. Um, And it's the whole. It's like a pendulum. It's like a pendulum has swung from after COVID 2020. It's like a pendulum has swung from the normal way of doing life to the present way of looking at life. The statistics are that mental health issues are on the rise. That's what the statistics are. And it's not only about us teachers. You are facing, somebody has said that a teacher is a comedian. He comes up every morning and he's trying to entertain 40 plus clients.
Yes.
Some care, some don't eat the hood, but he's there as a teacher, or
Every day.
she's there as a
Yes.
teacher. But it seems like the pendulum has just swung all of a sudden. And people on the edge all the time. The teachers are on the edge. The learners are on the edge. The administrators are on the edge. So ultimately, it takes what is in you to be able to balance out what you're getting from the community or from whoever. Isn't that true?
The things are really changing in the teaching career. Actually, it has been going on for a long time. Everybody's on the edge, as you mentioned. Even students are also on the edge.
Yeah.
Teachers are also really struggling a lot because the caliber of students that we are working with right now are different from the caliber of students that used to be. Mainly because the technological advancement now has scaled up so much that it influences every aspect of our students' lives. They're constantly on technology, constantly on the screen, and the screen does something. What the screen does is that it's constantly stimulating them. They're always scrolling, always watching something, always active, always doing something. So it becomes difficult for them to sit down and listen just for like a few seconds without that constant stimulation. And that makes them on edge. And that behavior of them not listening and paying attention keeps the teacher also on edge because then nobody is trying to help each other. Even regardless of that, we can still find a way around working, to try to avoid being on edge and try to fill our lives with simple things that could bring us some form of small joy or happiness or something. It could be something as simple as getting yourself a cup of coffee, like just doing something to yourself for yourself that makes you smile, something that take your mind off that edge that you've been experiencing for some time. Because one thing I can say about mental health is that you also need to put your own effort in. If you start to feel stress or burnout, what are you doing for yourself first? What are the things that you're trying to do for yourself to encourage yourself first before you start to communicate that to somebody else? Are you taking good care of yourself? Are you giving yourself some self-love here and there? Or are you denying yourself of any form of social connections? Are you avoiding any form of information that could give you some form of, personal love and attention before you can give up to somebody else? So it's very important that you give yourself some love and then you can now let people also know that, hey, I'm struggling with this or that. Can I get some help from you about my mental health?
Okay, so you have to factor in my time,
Yeah, you
or
have to have
me
me
time,
time. Yeah,
whichever way you
to have
call
me
it.
time. Yes, it's very important because one thing is that even though we need people to support us, we also need to put in our own efforts to try to help ourselves before we can even get any form of assistance from anybody else. Because if we become too helpless and there's nobody else around us, then it means that nothing can be said and nothing can be done. We should not be overly reliant on other people when it comes to our mental health. We should try our best to see that, hey, what can I do to cheer myself up? What can I do to do? Do I need to, go out on a solo date or something? Do I go to the cinema and watch like my favorite movie? Do I cook something nice for myself? Small things might seem too small, but they might be just one step towards you healing that mental health before you actually get that outside help that will make it even more complete, the healing process more complete.
Does that factor in spirituality?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. 100%. Because the one thing about
Mhm.
spirituality is that it also calms our hearts, our worries and everything becomes like low, or like it doesn't become anything deep. Okay, so if you're
Mm.
using spirituality to help motivate yourself, it gives you some form of hope, and at the end of the day, you don't feel as lonely or as hopeless as you used to be, because you
Mm.
have this beautiful thing that is making you feel some form of hope that change is coming or change is possible.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm. But I also know that in terms of teaching, if the glass is empty,
Mm,
it can't fill other glasses. It cannot fill other glasses.
it cannot.
And that's emotionally, spiritually, academically, and so on. You cannot fill other glasses if your glass is empty.
Yes.
No, you cannot. At Let It Count, I always ask people, what are they reading presently? What are you reading presently, Anna?
What I'm reading,
Away from your academia, but self-help projects, what are you reading?
currently reading a book called Upshift. Upshift. It talks about
Mm-hmm.
how we can work on our mental state or mindsets
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to solving
Mm-hmm.
problems. I mentioned it earlier, looking at things in a positive light and trying to chip away at the problem a bit at a time with a positive mindset rather than negative
Mm-hmm.
mindset. So anytime
Mm-hmm.
anybody sees a problem, the first thing is to attack it with negativity. It's a problem, it needs to be solved, it has to go down. But sometimes looking at that problem with that negative eye makes it look even bigger than it actually is supposed to. By looking at it with a very
Mm.
positive mindset, helps you find which part of that problem is a loophole that you can actually get into. Which one can you solve? Which one can you let go? Which one do you think you need help working on? And then that is how you help yourself become a better person. So that's one of the things that I'm working on at the moment. Yes.
Super. Every teacher needs music.
Mm.
Every teacher
Mm.
needs music in their lives. So, which music do you listen to?
What music do I listen to right now?
We could send you some from Ghana. If you have nine,
Well,
we do
yeah,
that.
yeah. I think I'm gonna like that. If there's a Ghanaian music that you want to give me, please play it. Let me hear. Let me listen, because I'm at home and I want to have a feel of my roots and my culture right now in Indonesia. So you can just let me have them.
Okay, and we are coming to an end. And I want you to
Yeah.
tell us, you um, some of the things, some of the reasons why we fail, and fail is a big word here. We fail as teachers in different cultures is because of the way we show up. And I'm not talking clothing. I'm not talking maybe that we're not walking with a bounce. I'm not talking those things. The way we show up in terms of time, in terms of organization, in terms of detail, and your agency is focused apart from communication. You're doing this.
Yes.
Talk to us about as the end in how is your agency, because post this I'm going to be looking around for people you need to train
Yeah.
online, and of course they will have to pay you, and of course I'll get my little money off the referral. But talk to us about that as we end.
Teachers have like a lot of skills, so many things. One thing I always tell
Yeah.
myself is that a teacher can work in any field that they want to, because the kind of skills that they've built in that role is
Mm,
unimaginable, right? But
mm,
one thing that,
mm, mm,
as you say, teachers might fill in when they want to travel abroad or they want to learn something new is accepting that people come from different cultures and people come from different aspects of
yeah,
the world, and they need to be open enough to
yeah.
accept other people. So one of the biggest things that
Mm,
my consultancy trains teachers is that if you want to go abroad, the first thing you need to know is that you have to accept the people that you're going to, you know, live with or be with. You do not go into somebody else's space and dismiss whatever it is that they are saying, or how you're feeling, or their culture, or anything like that.
With a
You
bias.
know,
With a
there is so
bias.
much bias, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to actually be very acceptant, like very welcoming with of them and how they present themselves. Sometimes I also train them to learn one or two things in the culture that they're going to get to. And the biggest thing for me is language. So, for example, that is what I did before I came to Indonesia. I spent 1 month
Mm,
to learn the language. It's called Bahasa
mm,
Indonesia. It's called Indonesian language, Bahasa.
mm,
So Bahasa is pretty easy to learn. And if you're able to pick very easy, bits and pieces of it, you can communicate with the locals, and that is how they start accepting you that, hey, even though you're an expert and a foreigner, you are trying to fit inside our culture. And then that is how they receive
mm,
you also.
mm,
But if you are somebody who have your guard up, you don't want to learn anything, you don't
mhm,
want to accept anybody else's
mhm,
culture, anything about
mhm,
inclusivity is not in your mind, you don't want to be in a diversity world, then it's going to affect you at the end of the day. So the two big things,
mm,
inclusiveness and diversity. If you want to go abroad as a
mm.
teacher, you need to accept the fact that you have to learn new things. You have to change your mindset in different ways to be able to fit in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is one thing that my agency
Mm,
helps to bring their minds to the fact that, hey, if you want to do this, you need to also, humble yourself enough to learn about the place where you're going to, so you can actually become one
yeah,
with them rather than be against them in a way like that. Yes.
that's true. How many languages do you speak, Anna?
I speak 5 languages.
Let's go. One,
Three of them is Ewe, it's local language
two,
in Ghana. I have Ewe, Twi, Ga,
three,
English,
four,
and Bahasa Indonesia.
five. So, did you know that your English only richer compared to your local language? What you know in the local language enhances what you learn in English.
Can I get the question again, please? The line was
Because
breaking.
it's not even a question. I'm
Oh,
just
okay.
saying,
Yes.
did you know that the amount of English that you and I speak is equated to how much local languages we know?
Oh, no. Yes.
Because we don't have English. Yeah, we are second English
Yes. Yes.
speakers,
Yes.
so
Second
we
language.
have to to withdraw from our local languages
Yes.
to transfer into the
Yes.
English
In
and so
English.
on.
Yes. Yes.
Listen, Anna, it's been an hour with you. Your last word before we sign off.
My last
Your
word
last
is
word before we
very,
sign
very
off.
simple. Communication can definitely help you scale up in your career, but it can also help
Yeah.
save yourself from any form of stress or burnout. When you see that something is changing in you,
Yeah.
you need to talk about it. Let people know that I'm drowning, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm feeling this kind
Mm,
of emotion that I
mm,
didn't used to feel before. I need help.
mm,
Okay. Or I have
mm,
tried my best to feel better, but it has not done much and I need help. So communication can take
mm,
you everywhere, globally, wherever it is.
mm,
But it is the biggest tool that can
mm.
actually help you communicate the stress you're having and everything you need to know about your mental health. So we need to talk about it as often as we can.
Okay. Many thanks, Teacher Anna
Okay.
or Miss Anna, depending on who is calling. We are honored at Let It Count podcast to have you. And we've learned one of two things. This is your host, Moses Bulamu from Kampala, Uganda, East Africa. Anna, I will have you back before the eye is out.
Okay. um,
Bless you. Bye-bye.
okay. Bye bye. Thank you so much. Bye. smart one.